The bullets come from nowhere. A deafening crack splits the silence of the Afghan valley, then another, and suddenly chaos. Sergeant Miller goes down first. A round through his shoulder. He screams, blood spraying across the sand. The rest of the patrol, 8 Marines, scatter for cover behind rocks and burned-out vehicles. But there is no good cover. They're in a kill box. Enemy fire is coming from 3 directions. The ridgeline to the east, the destroyed compound to the north, and somewhere, a sniper they can't locate is picking them off one by one. Corporal Davis takes a round to the leg. He drags himself behind a boulder, cursing. Private First Class Henderson is frozen, completely frozen, eyes wide, weapon shaking in his hands. And in the middle of all this hell, there's a woman. Staff Sergeant Olivia Kine, the unit's combat medic. At least, that's what her file says. She's pressed against a shattered wall, medical bag clutched to her chest, face pale with dust and terror. The squad leader, Lieutenant Briggs, is shouting into the radio trying to call for air support. But the radio is dead, jammed, nothing but static. He roars orders. No one moves, because no one can. Every time someone lifts their head, another round cracks past, inches from death. The enemy sniper is good, too good, professional, trained, and he's hunting them like animals. Martinez, the unit's designated marksman, tries to spot the shooter. He raises his scope for exactly 2 seconds. A bullet punches through his hand. He falls back, screaming, weapon clattering to the ground. And now the situation becomes truly hopeless. No sniper, no radio, no air support, no way out. 8 Marines, 3 wounded, pinned down, and the enemy is closing in. But here's the thing about Olivia Kine. Here's what no one in Bravo Company knows. She's been here before, not this valley, not this ambush, but this feeling, the taste of copper in the air, the weight of death pressing in from all sides. She knows it intimately. Because Olivia Kine has a secret. 28 years old, 5'5", quiet demeanor, keeps to herself in Bravo Company. She's the medic who patches wounds and stays in the background. The men respect her medical skills, but they don't see her as a fighter. She's the one they protect, the one who stays behind cover, the one who doesn't fire unless absolutely necessary. Just the doc, they call her, sometimes affectionately, sometimes dismissively. She doesn't argue, doesn't correct them, doesn't try to prove anything. Because Olivia Kine has learned that the loudest voices rarely belong to the most dangerous people. And she prefers to stay silent. But silence isn't the same as emptiness. Before Olivia Kine became a combat medic, she had a very different job in the Marine Corps. Scout sniper. Not support, not spotter, primary shooter. She spent 4 years in one of the most elite and secretive sniper programs in the entire United States military. Her longest confirmed kill, 1,847 meters, in a sandstorm, with crosswinds gusting at 40 miles per hour. They called her Whisper, because by the time enemies heard her shot, they were already dead. Olivia didn't miss, ever. She was so good that she was recruited for classified operations that don't appear in any official record. Missions in countries the military denies operating in. Targets that officially never existed. She saw things, did things that still wake her up at 3 in the morning, drenched in sweat. After her final mission, a catastrophic operation that killed her spotter and 3 teammates, Olivia requested a transfer. She couldn't pull the trigger anymore. Not like that. So she retrained as a medic, learned to save lives instead of taking them. She thought she could leave the past behind, become someone new, someone who heals instead of kills. But as bullets crack overhead and her teammates bleed into the sand, Olivia realizes the truth. You can run from who you are. But eventually, the war catches up. The enemy sniper fires again. This time the round hits Corporal Webb straight through the chest. He doesn't scream, doesn't move, he just stops. Webb is down. Lieutenant Briggs is losing control. His voice is cracking. His hands are shaking. He's a good officer, brave, but he's never been in a situation like this. No one has. He screams orders that no one can follow because there's nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Olivia is working on Martinez's hand, trying to stop the bleeding, but her eyes keep drifting to the ridgeline, to the angles, to the shadows. She can see what others can't. The slight disturbance in the dust 800 meters east, the faint glint of glass where sunlight shouldn't reach, the pattern of fire, methodical, patient, professional. This isn't some amateur insurgent with an old rifle. This is a trained sniper, probably former military from a hostile nation, someone who knows exactly what they're doing. And he's toying with them, taking his time, enjoying it. Olivia's jaw tightens. Inside her, something stirs, something she buried a long time ago. The cold, calculating focus of a hunter. Martinez grabs her arm, delirious with pain. "Doc." Olivia doesn't answer. Her eyes are still on that ridgeline, measuring, calculating, remembering. The wind is coming from the southeast, maybe 15 miles per hour. Humidity is low. Distance is approximately 847 meters based on the terrain features. She knows she can make that shot. She's made harder ones before. But to do it, she'll have to become Whisper again. And she swore she never would. Another shot, another scream. Private Henderson takes a round through the arm. He collapses, crying, weapon falling from his grip. That's 4 wounded now, 1 dead, and the enemy sniper hasn't even broken a sweat. Lieutenant Briggs is out of options. His face is ashen, defeated. We can't get out of this," he whispers. And that's when Olivia makes her decision. She stops working on Martinez, stands up slowly, and walks toward Martinez's fallen rifle. Kind, what are you doing?" She doesn't respond. She picks up the M40A6 sniper rifle, checks the chamber, examines the scope. Her hands move with a fluidity that doesn't match a combat medic. It matches something else entirely. She finds a position behind a crumbling wall. Not the most obvious cover, but the best angle. Lieutenant Briggs is staring at her like she's lost her mind. "Kind, you're a medic." Her voice stops him cold. It's not the voice of a medic. It's the voice of someone who has looked through a scope at hundreds of targets and never missed. "I need you to keep everyone down and quiet for the next 45 seconds." He doesn't understand. None of them do. But something in her tone, something ancient and cold, makes him obey. Everyone down. Silence falls over the patrol. Olivia settles into position. Her breathing slows, her heartbeat drops. The world narrows to a single point. She finds the enemy sniper. He's hidden well, very well, behind a rock formation on the ridge covered by camouflage netting. But not well enough. Not from her. She adjusts for wind, for distance, for the slight curve of the earth at this range. Her finger touches the trigger. "Whisper," she breathes. And fires. The shot echoes across the valley. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a figure tumbles from the ridgeline, limp, lifeless. 847 meters, 1 shot, 1 kill. The enemy sniper is dead. Silence complete, absolute silence. Lieutenant Briggs stares at her, then at the distant ridge, then back at her. "How?" Olivia doesn't answer. She's already moving to a new position. Because she knows the truth. The sniper wasn't alone. 30 seconds later, her instincts prove correct. The compound to the north erupts with gunfire. 12 no, 15 enemy fighters pour out, weapons blazing. They saw their sniper fall. They know the ambush is failing. And now they're making a desperate push to finish the job. The Marines return fire, but they're still outgunned and outmanned. "Contact north," Davis screams. Olivia is moving again, not toward cover, toward higher ground. She climbs the remains of a destroyed building, exposed, vulnerable, impossible. "Kine, get down." She doesn't listen. She finds a position at the top, broken concrete, unstable, one wrong move and she falls. But the angle is perfect. She can see all of them, every single target. The first enemy fighter goes down before anyone realizes she's shooting, then the second, then the third. She's not firing randomly, she's not spraying, each shot is surgical, precise, lethal. One round, one kill, over and over. The enemy fighters start panicking. They don't know where the fire is coming from. They scatter, break formation, stumble over each other, which makes them even easier targets. Within 60 seconds, Olivia Kine has eliminated 9 enemy combatants. 9. The remaining fighters retreat, running terrified. They came to slaughter a pin patrol. They ran into something far, far worse. When it's over, Olivia climbs down slowly. Her face is blank, emotionless. The face of someone who just did something they promised themselves they'd never do again. Lieutenant Briggs approaches her. His legs are shaking. "Kine." Olivia sets down the rifle. Her hands are trembling now. The adrenaline is fatting. The reality is setting in. "I'm just a medic, sir." But even as she says it, everyone knows the truth. There's nothing just about Olivia Kine. The thing is, you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unfeel what you've felt. Olivia sits on the ground, back against the crumbling wall, and stares at her hands. They're covered in dust and blood, some of it Martinez's, some of it from the field dressing she applied, some of it her own from climbing the broken concrete. But they're steady now, perfectly steady. That's what scares her most. Not the killing, not the return to whisper, but how easy it was, how natural, like slipping into an old jacket that still fits perfectly, even after years in the closet. Henderson is crying. Not from his wound, the medics who arrived with the quick reaction force already patched him up. He's crying because he's 20 years old and he just watched someone die 3 feet away from him. Olivia wants to go to him, wants to comfort him. That's what medics do. But she can't move, can't speak. Because right now, she doesn't know who she is. Is she the healer who spent 3 years learning to save lives? Or is she the killer who just took 10? The answer, she realizes, is worse than either option alone. She's both. And she always will be. The medevac arrives 23 minutes later. By then, the wounded are stabilized. The dead are covered. The survivors are sitting in stunned silence. When they're finally evacuated to base, the debrief takes 6 hours. Military intelligence counts the bodies, analyzes the shots, reviews the angles. The conclusion is unanimous. Staff Sergeant Olivia Kine single-handedly neutralized 1 enemy sniper at 847 meters and 9 additional combatants in close-range precision fire, in conditions that would have broken most shooters, with a rifle that wasn't even hers. The colonel who runs the debriefing pulls up her classified file, the one that's been sealed for 3 years. Scout Sniper, call sign, Whisper, 127 confirmed kills. He looks at her for a long moment. "You were supposed to be out of the game, Kine." Olivia meets his eyes. They're hollow, empty. "They were going to kill my people, sir." The colonel nods slowly. "I know." He closes the file. "For what it's worth, you saved 8 lives today. Good work, Staff Sergeant." "Thank you, sir." But the words taste like ash in her mouth. Because Olivia Kine didn't join the Marines to be thanked for killing people. She joined to matter, to belong, to be part of something bigger than herself. And for a while, being Whisper gave her that. Until it didn't. until the killing became routine, until the faces stopped haunting her, until she realized she was becoming something she didn't recognize in the mirror. That's when she left. That's when she became a medic. But today, in that valley, she learned something that breaks her heart. You can change your job. You can change your role. You can even change your name. But you can't change what you're good at. And Olivia Kine is very, very good at killing. Word spreads through the base like wildfire. Within hours, everyone knows about the medic who wasn't just a medic, the woman who walked through fire and didn't flinch, the one they called just the doc, who turned out to be one of the deadliest shooters in Marine Corps history. People stare at her differently now. Some with awe, some with respect, some with fear. But no one looks at her the same way they did this morning. And Olivia hates it. She doesn't want to be Whisper again. She doesn't want to be the legend, the ghost, the killer in the shadows. She wanted to be Olivia, just Olivia, the quiet medic who saves lives and goes home at the end of her tour and maybe, finds some kind of peace. But that version of herself died in the valley. And she doesn't know if she'll ever get her back. Lieutenant Briggs finds her later that evening, sitting alone outside the barracks, staring at nothing. He doesn't say much, just sits down beside her. They sit in silence for a long time. Finally, he speaks. "I've been in the Corps for 12 years, he says quietly. I've seen some incredible things, brave things." He pauses. "But what you did today—" "Please don't," Olivia interrupts. Her voice is raw. "Don't what?" "Don't make me into something I'm not." Briggs looks at her, really looks at her. "I'm not," he says. "I'm just telling you the truth." "I didn't want to do it," Olivia whispers. "I swore I'd never do it again." "I know." "Then why does everyone look at me like I'm some kind of hero?" Briggs is quiet for a moment. "Because you are." Olivia shakes her head. Tears sting her eyes, but she blinks them back. "Heroes don't kill people. Heroes save people," Briggs says gently. "And that's exactly what you did." Olivia doesn't respond. Because deep down she knows he's right. But it doesn't make it hurt any less. Briggs stands, puts a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't ask to be who you are, Kine. None of us do." He pauses. "But sometimes we don't get to choose who we are. We only get to choose what we do with it." He walks away. Olivia stays there for a long time, watching the sun set over the mountains, thinking about the person she used to be, the person she tried to leave behind, and the person she became today. And she wonders if it's possible to be both. The nightmares come that night. They always do. Olivia sees the faces, all of them, the ones from today, the ones from before, the ones that blur together into a single, endless parade of death. She wakes up at 3 in the morning, drenched in sweat, heart pounding. For a moment, she doesn't know where she is. Then she remembers. Afghanistan Forward Operating Base, her bunk, her life. She sits up, head in her hands, and tries to breathe. But the air feels too thick, too heavy. She gets dressed, steps outside. The base is quiet. Most people are asleep. She walks to the perimeter, stands at the fence, looks out at the dark mountains beyond. Somewhere out there, people are still dying, still fighting, still bleeding. And tomorrow she'll go back to being a medic. She'll patch wounds, she'll save lives, she'll do her job. But she knows the truth now. She can't escape Whisper. Because Whisper isn't a name. It's not a job, it's not even a skill. Whisper is who she is. And no amount of healing will ever change that. The question is, can she live with it? 3 days later, Olivia is back on patrol. Different valley, different mission, same heat, same dust. But something is different. The men, they treat her differently now. Not worse, not better, just different. Henderson nods at her as they load into the convoy. Glad you're with us, Doc. Martinez, his hand wrapped in bandages, gives her a small smile. Feel a lot safer knowing Whisper's got our backs. Olivia doesn't correct him. Because maybe that's okay. Maybe she doesn't have to choose between being a medic and being a sniper. Maybe she can be both. Maybe that's the point. The convoy rolls out. Dusk kicks up behind the vehicles. The mountains loom ahead, silent and watching. And for the first time in 3 years, Olivia Kine feels something she hasn't felt in a long time. Not peace, not happiness, but acceptance. She is Whisper. She is a medic. She is a killer. She is a healer. She is all of these things. And she's done running from it. Because here's the truth about Olivia Kine. She didn't want to be a killer anymore. She wanted peace, healing, a second chance at a life where death wasn't her constant companion. But when her people needed her, when lives hung in the balance, she didn't hesitate. She became Whisper again. And she saved every single Marine in that patrol. That's the thing about true warriors. They don't fight because they love violence. They fight because they love what's behind them. The people, the purpose, the mission. Olivia Kine spent years running from her past. But in the end, her past wasn't a curse. It was a gift. A gift that kept 8 Marines breathing when they should have died in that valley. The convoy reaches the checkpoint. They dismount, form up, move out. Olivia adjusts her medical bag, checks her rifle, scans the terrain. And somewhere deep inside, Whisper stirs. Not with anger, not with bloodlust, but with purpose. Because some people are born to heal. Some are born to fight. And a very few, a very, very few are born to do both. Olivia Kine is one of them. And she's finally ready to accept it. The patrol moves through the valley, careful and alert. Every shadow could hide danger. Every rock could conceal an enemy. But Olivia isn't afraid. Because she knows something the enemy doesn't. They're not hunting her. She's hunting them. And if they threaten her people, if they so much as raise a weapon in their direction, they'll learn the same lesson that Sniper learned 3 days ago. Whisper doesn't miss. And Whisper doesn't forgive. The mountains watch, the wind blows, the sun beats down. And Olivia Kine walks forward, one step at a time, carrying both her medical bag and her rifle. Ready to heal. Ready to kill. Ready to be exactly who she is. Because in the end, that's all any of us can do. Accept who we are, embrace what we're good at, and use it to protect the people we love. Even if it costs us everything. Even if it breaks us. Even if it means becoming the one thing we swore we'd never be again. Because some battles aren't fought with weapons. They're fought with choices. And Olivia Kine made hers. She chose her people. She chose to fight. She chose to be Whisper one more time. And in doing so, she saved 8 lives. Was it worth it? Ask the Marines who made it home to their families. Ask Martinez, who still has both his hands. Ask Henderson, who gets to grow old. Ask Lieutenant Briggs, who learned that the quietest person in the room is sometimes the most dangerous. They'll tell you, it was worth it. Because sometimes the greatest act of love is violence. Not for its own sake, not for glory or revenge, but for protection, for defense, for the people who can't protect themselves. That's what Olivia Kine learned in that valley. That's what Whisper has always known. And that's what she'll carry with her for the rest of her life. Not pride, not shame. Just acceptance. She is a warrior. She is a healer. She is both. And she always will be. The patrol continues. The day stretches on. The mission goes forward. And somewhere in the mountains, an enemy fighter lowers his weapon and retreats into the shadows. Because word has spread. Whisper is back, and Whisper doesn't lose. So the next time you see someone quiet, someone who stays in the background, someone who doesn't brag or boast or seek attention, remember Olivia. Remember that the deadliest people in the world don't need to announce themselves. They just act. And when they do, everything changes. Because dignity doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply exists. And when the moment comes, when everything is on the line and lives hang in the balance, it rises. Silent, unstoppable, lethal. That's Olivia Kine. That's Whisper. That's the woman who saved 8 Marines with 10 bullets and a heart full of ghosts. And that's the truth about warriors. They're not made in boot camp. They're not made in battle. They're made in the quiet moments. The moments when they choose to stand when everyone else runs. The moments when they sacrifice who they want to be for who their people need them to be. The moments when they become the weapon so others don't have to. Olivia Kine didn't want to be Whisper again. But she did it anyway. Not for glory. Not for recognition. But for love. And in the end, isn't that what all great warriors fight for? Not victory. Not honor. But love. The deepest, fiercest, most unshakable kind. The kind that says, I will break myself before I let you fall. I will become the monster so you can stay human. I will carry this burden so you never have to. That's Olivia Kine. That's Whisper. That's the quiet medic who turned out to be the deadliest sniper in the valley. And that's a lesson worth remembering. Sometimes the heroes don't wear capes. They wear dusty uniforms and carry medical bags and never, ever talk about what they've done. They just do it. And then they move on. Silent, steady, unbreakable. That's dignity. That's strength. That's Whisper. And somewhere in the Afghan mountains, 8 Marines are alive because of her. They'll never forget. And neither should we.